Poverty in Alabama's Black Belt. The lack of resources for Alabama's hidden treasure. I'm so sorry. I am Portia Shepard. The unique aspects of social and economic life in rural America. Public policies, programs such as welfare reform, expansion of government health insurance, and restructuring of education often affect rural children differently. Just a little bit background of the Black Belt of Alabama. It is named for its rich, dark, loamy, fertile soil that produces nutrient-rich vegetation that in turn it serves as a high-quality habitat for numerous wildlife species, including white-tailed deer. There are several counties in the region. Some include Barber, Butler, Choctaw, Dallas, Greene, Hale, Lowndes, Macon, Marengo, Montgomery, Perry, Pickens, Pike, Russell, Sumter, and Wilcox County. Black Belt farmers, like their counterparts in other areas, produce some of the best cattle, corn, cotton, eggs, pigs, soybeans, wheat, timber, hay, peanuts, and poultry. Booker T. Washington once wrote, "So far as I can learn, the term was first used to designate a part of the country, which was distinguished by the color of the soil. The part of the country possessing this thick, dark, and naturally rich soil was, of course, the part of the South where the slaves were more profitable, and consequently, they were taken there in the largest numbers. Later, and especially since the war, the term seemed to be used wholly in a political sense, that is, to designate the counties where the black people outnumber the white." The extreme poverty in Alabama Black Belt has been stagnating in the area for years. The effects we will be discussing in the focus group later in the research. The purpose of this paper is to review the background of poverty in the region, identify the effect it has on children, and suggest a useful approach that could turn the poverty in the region into a unique aspect of social and economic life in rural Alabama. Public images of poverty. You know, African Americans account for 27.4% of the poor in this country. And in the Black Belt, 24.8% of the population live below the poverty line, making up more than half of the entire state poverty rate. Media shines a negative outlook on the region without looking at what can be offered. Education media. You know, entertainment in education is a way of informing the public about a social issue. What it does is it incorporates an education method into popular entertainment content. We see that a lot in reality shows. In order to raise awareness, increase knowledge, create favorable attitudes, and ultimately motivate people to take social responsible action in their own lives. What happens in the Black Belt is that the media constant negative talk about poverty in a particular area has a negative effect on the region because of the great influence of entertainment media on people's thoughts and action. What it does is it hinders the growth based on public perception without even people visiting the region. So you already have a negative outlook simply because of what you hear in the media. Ways poverty affect children. Poverty affects children through education, social, and economic reasoning. In education, poverty affects children simply because they do not have the resources that a lot of other areas have in rural Alabama. So they are not privy to resources that can help them grow not only in their personal lives, but in an educational setting. Teachers in the Black Belt of Alabama get paid somewhat lower than people compared to people in other parts of Alabama. Looking at social skills are very small here. You don't have much. So how can you have a social life when things are not here at your immediate fingertips? Which brings us to economics. Because without economics or having a high economic status in the community, you're not able to go places who do provide the things that the area don't provide. In order for you to have that social life, that does have an effect on your educational life because hands-on learning will help you better in school because you're able to see things better or learn things better if you see them compared to where you're just reading it in a book. socialization does play a big part in the effects of poverty in children. Let's look at this chart here. This chart is a share. It is from the American Community Survey 5-year estimates, and it looks at poverty in children. Let's look at just 1980. 43% in rural areas is the light blue color here. 43% in 1980 were children living in poverty. And let's fast forward to 2000. You're looking at 44%. That number pretty much, it went up in 90, went up to 56%, and it dropped back down to 44%. And then between 2000 and 2010, it rose to over 64% of children in rural areas live in poverty. So that is the effect of living in poverty with children. The article points out and evaluates how the actual value, care, and protection over children than societal norms. When you're looking at welfare reform, one of the main things is that, why don't they get out welfare? Well, welfare to work program don't work. And if you go back to the chart, that was big in 1990, 56%. Well, how can you work for welfare in an area who don't have jobs? So you can't work, and you can't work for what is available simply because you don't have the resources available in order for you to maintain that. So when you're looking at the quality analysis in that journal, examine and evaluate how to stop making poverty an opportunity and by stop making welfare a success. And most people would choose welfare to feed their kids than to get off welfare and struggle to where their kids are not eating. So it's like welfare is more successful than working. The disparity of wealth among African Americans in the region. Household wealth is the accumulated sum of assets, houses, cars, savings and checking account, etc., minus the sum of debt. And the disparity of wealth among African American in the region is that it's not equal to that. You have more debt than you do household wealth. And so what you see is a continuation of poverty in the region. In our research design, in chapter 3, we're talking about our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are going to be populace of the region from all financial backgrounds, political leaders of the region, farmers, business owners, potential business owners. How research will improve? Research will improve the area through the unique aspects of social and economic life in rural America, public policies and programs such as welfare reform that needs to be done differently in the region simply because it doesn't work when you don't have the resources. Expansion of government health insurance and the restructuring of education often affect rural children, again, differently. The Carsey Institute gave a great analysis of child poverty in rural compared to rural and urban areas from 1990 to 2007. And if you remember that chart that I showed earlier, it pretty much gives the same thing. In 2000, it dropped down, remember, to 44%, and then it rose back up into 2010 when it got back up to 64%. 4%, and this is the same percentage that is here compared to urban areas. In the year 2007, you're looking at 22% of children lived in poverty in rural areas compared to just 17% of children living in poverty in non-rural areas. So it all plays hand in hand to show you the difference in what I speak of. In 2007, the poverty threshold for a family of 2 adults and 2 children was just $21,027 per year. That's right. $21,027 per year is the poverty threshold for a family of 2 adults. By that measure, 22% of those under age 18, or if you look back at here, 2.6 million children in rural America are poor. That is a startling number. The Black Belt has 2 major forms of poverty. One based on economic differences, and the other is on ascribed characteristics such as race, age, and gender. In this project, we just had minor limitations with rural communities' ability to invest in its own development. You have, I've had some of the people say or research about USDA money. Yes, the money is available, but if you can't invest into what USDA is offering, how are you able to move forward? Finding accurate research in the region. Just recently, we just opened up a Black Belt Center, and so what happens is that those individuals are able to collect data that's needed in order for research like what we're trying to do to move forward. That's our project limitations. Public images of poverty, just going back over it, is efforts to engage public support for measures to tackle poverty must consider the media's role in informing and reflecting public opinion of the Black Belt. We have to, the Black Belt region needs to take control of what media is putting out about the region. Give the media a positive image to encourage a positive outlook on the region. If you give them some positive outlook, kind of like in entertainment, celebrities give out positive images, and so that's what you see all the time. So when something negative happens, it's a shocker because what you've been fed is positivity. The effect poverty has on children in the region. Research found that children who are raised in poverty are at increased risk of a wide range of negative outcomes that are identified at birth and can extend into adulthood, such as generational misuse of welfare and low education. The disparity of wealth among African Americans in the region. This study shows that residents in those areas have the inability of many Black Belt residents, especially the Blacks, to own houses. It's a clear indication of access poverty. Owning land but not using the resource for income. This summary of our project is to hold a series of focus groups in involving the populace of the region from all financial backgrounds, political leaders, farmers, business owners, and potential business owners. Through the focus groups, information will be gathered to help in economic development of the region. How can you grow the area if you don't talk to the people? The purpose of the focus group is to understand why poverty is an issue, to understand how an area with so many resources have so much poverty, to understand the impact of poverty has on children, to understand the importance of using current resources for financial gain. In conclusion, the purpose of this paper is to review the background of poverty in the region, identify the effect it has on children, and suggest a useful approach that could turn poverty into a unique aspect of social and economic life in rural Alabama. Thanks for watching.